Hey guys, what's up? So in this lecture, guys, we're going to be looking at a square, okay? All right, guys, and if you can see from my square right here, all of the angles are 90 degrees, okay? And each side is the same, all right? L, 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 and L, right? And it says here the area of a square is equal to A is equal to L squared, okay? So L multiplied by L is what is going to give me the area, okay? And the perimeter is equal to 4L, right? Because there are four sides for the square, right? And where it says here where L is equal to the length of a side of a square, and the length is also equal to the square root of A, right? And that makes perfect sense, guys, because this would be equal to the square root of L squared, which is equal to L, right? And the length is also equal to 4 over the perimeter, which makes sense because 4L over L would give us L, right? So that makes perfect sense. Okay, guys? All right, so let's do these questions here. We have two questions for squares here, and we're going to do them right away. We just want to blow it out of the water. All right, guys? So for the first one, we're going to find the area, and that's going to be equal to L squared, which is 7 times 7, right? 7 centimeters times 7 centimeters. And this is going to be equal to 49 centimeters squared. Awesome, right? Now, the square has four sides, just like every other square, right? So the perimeter is going to be equal to 4 times 7 centimeters, and that's going to be equal to 28 centimeters. Cool? Easy, guys. Squares are so easy, right? Now, let's look at this example over here, number 2. And we're going to find the area. The area is going to be equal to 9 centimeters multiplied by 9 centimeters. And we're going to get 9 times 9 is 81 centimeters squared. And for the perimeter, we're going to get 9 times 4, right? 9 centimeters times 4. And we're going to get 36 centimeters, okay? Okay, so it's really easy, guys. I don't really think it gets much easier than this for the square. And guess what we're gonna do now? We're gonna jump right into the rectangle, okay? Because squares and rectangles are really similar. It doesn't get much easier than this, okay? All you have to do is square it, guys. Multiply it by itself. And to find the perimeter is 4 times one side. Cool? So let's look into rectangles now. All right, guys? All right, guys, awesome. So we're looking at the rectangle now, all right? And the rectangle is pretty different from the square, okay? We have a length and we have a width, okay? And the length is usually longer than the width, okay, guys? So in this case, we have the area of a rectangle is equal to the length multiplied by the width, okay? And the perimeter of a rectangle is equal to 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, okay? Where L is equal to the length of the rectangle and W is equal to the width of the rectangle, okay? And it says here that the length is also L is equal to A over W. So if you divide the area by W, you would end up with the length only, and that makes sense. If we had W down here, the W's would cancel, right? And L is also equal to P minus 2W, right? Which is the perimeter, 2L plus 2W minus 2W over 2, right? So you'd end up with 2L over 2, and that would give you L. So this makes perfect sense. Also, the width is also W is equal to A over L, right? Because the L's would cancel and just give you W. And W is equal to the perimeter minus 2L over 2, okay? All right, so there are cases, guys, where they may just give you the area and they may just give you the length and say find the width, right? And there are cases where they may just give you the width and give you the area and say find the length, okay? So you have to know these just in case, all right? Now, we're going to look at an example here. a very simple example. We're going to look at a regular rectangle, guys. Okay, and I'm going to find the area of this rectangle. So the area of this rectangle is length times width. So clearly the length is 9 centimeters multiplied by 3 centimeters, which is the width, and we're going to get 9 threes, 27 centimeters squared, right? Now for the perimeter, it should be equal to 2 times L, which is 2 times 9 centimeters, plus 2 times the width, which is 2 times 3 centimeters. Cool. So we should end up with 18 centimeters plus 6 centimeters, which would be equal to 24 centimeters. Awesome. So we finish this one, guys. Pretty easy. Not too, yo, this kind of really easy, though, guys. So let's move on to the rectangle now. Okay. So for the rectangle, down here for number 2, let's call this number 2 and let's call this number 1. The area is equal to the same thing, length times width, and in this case it's 12 meters multiplied by 6 meters. Cool. So 12 times 6 is actually going to give us 5 times 12 is actually 60, so this should give us 72 meters squared, right? And for the perimeter, let's work out the perimeter up here. It should be 2L plus 2W, right? 2 lengths and 2 widths, right? So we're going to end up with 2 times 12 meters plus 2 times 6 meters. Okay, so your perimeter, let's write the P down here. Your perimeter is going to be 24 meters plus 12 meters. So this is actually going to be equal to 36 meters. Okay. All right. So for this one, the area is equal to 72 meters squared, which is all this area in here, right? And the perimeter is equal to 36 meters, and that's the answer. All right, guys. All right, guys. So you know I always have something planned, right? And in this case, we already went through what the square was and what the rectangle was. But what I want to do is give you some more complex questions, because yes, you're going to get questions as simple as finding the square, the area of a square, and the square and the area of a rectangle, but they may give you something more difficult. So let's look at something more difficult. Let's look at 3 questions. You know, I love to do 3 examples, and look at something a little more difficult, and see what we could manage, you know. All right, guys. So we're back in it now, guys, and let's look at these 3 examples. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And it says here, find the area and the perimeter of the shaded region in the compound figures. Okay, so it seems a bit confusing, don't it? But it's not. If you look carefully, guys, you can see that this here is a square. Okay, it's 6 by 6 by 6. This is 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, and this side, this small part here, is 2 centimeters. And this 8 by 2 is a rectangle. Cool. So let's do this first question. To find the area, it would be the area of the square, right, which is 6 cm times 6 cm, plus the area of this rectangle down here, which would be 8 cm times 2 cm, right? Length by width, and this would be length by length. Cool. All right, so for the area, we're going to end up with 36 centimeters squared, plus 8 times 2 would give us 16 centimeters squared, and we're going to end up with the answer being 52 centimeters squared. Cool. So that's the answer for the area for number 1. So you see, it's not too bad, guys. Sometimes in CXC, they actually merge the rectangle and the square to kind of mix you up, to make you feel like, boy, it look hard. But it's really not hard, guys. It's very easy. You just have to break them up and realize that what is a square and what's a rectangle. Cool. So let's find the perimeter as well. The perimeter would be the area of the entire outside, right? So if we look carefully, this 6 this 6 here, this 2 here, this 8 here, this 2 here, this 8 here, and this 2 here would represent the perimeter. Okay, so let's just add that up together. We're gonna get 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2, right? And that should be equal to the perimeter. So when we add that all up, and all of this would be in centimeters, guys, we're going to end up getting the perimeter is equal to as 40 centimeters. Cool. All right, so let's just put that up here. The area is equal to 52 centimeters squared, and the perimeter is equal to 40 centimeters for number 1. Okay. All right, so let's clear that space down there because we're gonna use that space for number 2. All right, guys, great. So we're finished with number 1, and let's look at number 2 now. All right. And if you look at number 2 shows 2 rectangles joined together. Cool. That's what number 2 shows. So to find the area for this, all we have to do is find the area for the 2 rectangles, right? And we should be okay. So it's pretty simple, guys. So to find the area, all we have to do is we have to find the first rectangle up top, which is 2 by 10, right? The width is 2 and the length is 10. So it's 10 millimeters times 2 millimeters, right? Plus 7 millimeters multiplied by 2 millimeters. Cool, which is this part here. All right. So let's do that and find the area. We're going to get 20 millimeters squared here plus 14 millimeters squared, and we're going to end up with 34 millimeters squared, right? Now for the perimeter, we have to look carefully. We have to do the same thing like the previous example. We have to label right around it because we notice some parts of it isn't labeled. So if we look here, this is actually 2 millimeters as well because it's a rectangle. This here is also 7 millimeters as well. And what would be the distance here? Here to here and here to here. Well, if this is 2 in the middle, this 2 minus this 10 here would give us 8 millimeters, right? And since these are evenly matched, then clearly here is 4 millimeters and 4 millimeters, right? Because this 4 added to this 4 added to this 2 would give us 10 millimeters just like the top. All right, guys? So to find the perimeter now, we'll have to add right around. So we'd add 2 to 10 to 2 to 4 to 7 to 2 to 7 to 4. Okay? So we're going to end up with 2 plus 10 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 2 plus 7 plus 4. All right? And when we add this all up, guys, we're going to get, this is 38 millimeters. All right, guys, and that's our perimeter. And since we end up with 38 millimeters there for the perimeter, let's just put that here. The area is equal to 34 millimeters squared, and the perimeter is equal to 38 millimeters. Cool. All right, so let's clear this part down here because we're going to use it for the next question. All right, guys, so we're finished with number 2 now, and we're going to look at number 3. Okay, so number 3 is kind of unique. If you notice, the shaded region is everywhere inside this huge rectangle, but outside of this square. So we need to find the area that's in here in this rectangle minus the amount in the square. Okay, that makes sense, guys? It makes sense to me. All right, so to find the area for this rectangle, we need to find the area of the rectangle on the outside, then subtract the area of the square, this square inside, right? So to find the area for that, for number 3, we're going to get, first we'll have to find the area of the rectangle, which is 8 meters times 16 meters, right? The length times the width. Then we're going to subtract the 4 meters squared, right? Because we need to subtract this square out of here, okay? Think of it as like a little window in a house, okay? All right, so 8 times 16 should actually give us 128 meters squared. and 4 squared would end up being 16 meters squared. Okay, so when we subtract these two for the area, we should actually end up with 112 meters squared. All right, guys. Now for the perimeter, it's kind of obvious what the perimeter is. The perimeter is just the perimeter for the rectangle. Okay, and we're going to end up with 8 plus 8 plus 16 plus 16. Okay, so for the perimeter, we should end up with 16 plus 16 plus 16, which should actually be 52 meters. Okay, when you add all of these up, we should get 52 meters. All right, so that's the answer for number 3, guys. The area is equal to 112 meters squared, and the perimeter is equal to 52 meters. All right, guys. Cool. All right, so we're finished with these examples now, and these are the types of questions that you're likely to get in the exam. You're gonna get something a little more difficult, something that you're gonna have to think about. You actually may get some very easy questions too. So the main thing is to just understand the concept, guys, of what a square is, of what a rectangle is, and once you do that, you should be okay. You should be able to ace the exam. We're going for the 1. All right. All right, guys. So we're gonna move on now to the rhombus. Okay. All right, guys. So that's it, and I'll see you in the next lecture. And remember to do your best, and God will do the rest.